See, I love how I just kept that intro going for a really long time.
Yeah, I know. I was waiting. I was like, shut up, John. Shut up, John. We want to talk. We want to
This
record
is why I
now.
never talk because he just wants me to shut up.
Well, yeah, you just say a load of rubbish and then I try and make it make sense.
Thanks. So we're talking about stuff today. I would say we're talking about one particular topic, but we never do. But we're going to start.
Yeah.
We're going to start our conversation with Morgan because their price has changed. Well, no, their pricing has stayed the same, but they've now included all the features that I want in all of the plans, which, quite frankly, for me, has just made me happy and immediately go pay them money because that's what I wanted. That was the only thing, like for me. So, for people who don't know, I was on Fantastical. I only have Mac devices now, so Fantastical suited my purpose perfectly. Um, but Fantastical's price, I think, nearly tripled.
Really?
Like it went down from like I was on a really old version of like 29, like I think it was like £29 a month because it's through Apple, and then it either well doubled, not tripled, but it went up to like 50 quid a month, a year, sorry, and I'm like, no, no, I'm not paying 50 quid a year, no, no, thank you. Like I know you're good, but you're not that good. And I've watched you use Morgan for a while. And in fact, Morgan, just watching how you use Morgan made me use more of the features of Fantastical, like the sidebar, which Fantastical has. I still right now prefer Fantastical's sidebar to Morgan's. But bearing in mind I'm in kind of using it as a daily driver. This is my first couple of days using it properly as a daily driver.
When you say sidebar, are you talking about the task view?
No, I don't use the task view at all right now. No, I'm talking about the little pop-up when you press Option C or
All right.
yeah, so the little sidebar, which is what I used extensively with Fantastical to be able to check dates really quickly. Yeah, so for me, the thing that I don't like is having so with Fantastical, for those who don't know, you've got the month calendar up at the top and you've got the agenda underneath. And I really, really like that because it means I can look at a glance at weeks in advance and see what's upcoming. Now, from my understanding, I can't do that. There is a little tiny button in the bottom left, which I can see the month, but one, that's too small. And two, I don't want to click buttons. Now, obviously, I know I can just press M and go to the month, but then it becomes big and bloated, and then I see all of the other things, and I don't I don't want to see all that. I just want to see the weeks so I can see which way I'm going. So that's about the only criticism. And on the mobile app, it has that. And I was like, oh, sweet. I mean, the mobile app's not working very well right now. The widgets aren't working for me. So I got to put a support ticket in. The widget's not working. Um, my phone shut down and then restarted, and it's not actually come back since then. But that's
What do you
me
mean it's
going to
not come
see.
back? As in it's the widget's just not there or it's not showing
Yeah,
anything?
you can actually see. Hang on, wait for it to figure itself
Oh,
out.
you've got the light version. Oh yeah, that's the
Yeah.
bug that they have fixed. It's just to be released.
Yeah, so that's the bug that I've got currently right now. But that's about the literally the only thing. I really loved the when I pressed the button in the bottom right hand corner, it just said join call, which was really nice. I enjoyed that. They had a similar one, but it was right next to the event.
Mm.
Just subtle changes, but I'm enjoying the speed. I'm enjoying being able to switch between. I'm also enjoying, although I haven't figured it fully out yet, the scheduling, the Morgan scheduling. That's nice. I like the scheduling links. I tried to just send out my bulk scheduling link. It didn't work because I got set availability, and the availability thing is a bit complicated. I'm not sure whether I need to set team availability or yeah, that is still something which I know is in beta. So it's things that
The
I'm used
availability
to.
I think is complicated because there are so many things in the calendar app that it needs to be
Mm.
aware of. It's like you can't just be like, well, you can. You can't be like, hey, I'm available this time because is that available for you or available for another calendar you have in there?
Yeah, yeah.
And
There's a
Morgan
lot
needs
of
to
little
know.
things. Yeah, and so I managed to figure it out and just be like, okay, cool. I'll set a. It's. I'm excited to use it for. So one of the use cases I have that I wanted to find something for, is good old Woven. rest in peace. I loved Woven for me being able to literally just create a set of times that people can meet me and just send out a link and copy it and paste it and go, versus having my static links, which are currently done by OnceHub. Once I've played a little bit more around with Morgen, and I've decided that I want to upgrade to have my own custom dashboards and all custom things, then maybe I will leave Morgen Schedule Once too. It's unlikely because there's some really nice features that Schedule Once has, but that's the potential that could happen. I don't know yet. But I really missed the Woven feature, and I absolutely love how it has that ability to just fill out times and stuff and send it off. I sent it off to Kim because we had a call, and that way, when I want to talk to someone, I don't have to use one of my business links. I can just go, hey, here's the link, let's go. And that I really appreciate, really quite like.
I actually use that more than I thought I would, because when people are saying, "Oh, I want to have a call with you," there is the open contact me page on my website. But some people, because of time zones, they want a call in the evening.
Yes.
And in the evenings, I'm like, well, and I just go in, make just a one-time link and just highlight the evenings that I'm like, yeah, I'm not busy on that evening. I don't have to remember, but I try to sort of fix it around spaces. And even if there is something there and I've put the available times, Morgan knows that an event, just get rid of it. So it just doesn't show that time, even if I have made the mistake and forgotten something's there. I'm like, oh yeah, I'll send that off. And it's quick, it's easy, and it's on the same app. I didn't have to pay more for it. And with the plans, so what's now is the Plus, which was the Pro. The Pro, you had limited scheduling, whereas with the Plus, the only thing limited is the recurring links, which unless you're having like a consulting call or something like that, you don't really need recurring links. And I just have the one recurring link, so I could still technically be on the Plus plan.
Yeah. It's I'm really enjoying it. I'm enjoying playing with it and just testing it out and seeing how it will fit into my workflow. Because one of the things that I was actually debating before I found out about this plan, I was not going to renew my Fantastical. It wasn't worth that much for me. Like, it wasn't that good that I would warrant wanting to spend that much money when I have set app, so I can use something like BusyCal, which is not as good, but is functionally enough for me. And there was other solutions that were available. But one thing I was debating trying is just using Obsidian
Interesting.
as an actual, just as a calendar, and having Google Cal, using the full calendar plugin, syncing it with iCal on my Google Calendar, which will always exist because that's how people schedule calls with me, and then have it go in there. That was something I was going to try. I recently uninstalled full calendar plugin on mine because I just didn't use it.
Yeah.
Even though, I mean, I didn't really find it helpful for me.
Yeah. I think full calendar is an option. The reason I personally don't use full calendar and I use Morgen is because Morgen has tasks, obviously, like full calendar does inside of Obsidian, but Morgen also does the recurring events nicer, recurring tasks nicer, and has scheduling, of course, but also gives me calendar sets, which full calendar doesn't have. So if, for example, I'm going to bring up my calendar on the screen. I'm not going to share that one because I've got other people's calendars on it. But I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 6 different calendars. Not all of them are
I only
mine.
have 2.
So I have all of those different calendars for habits, actions, events are the main ones for me. But then I've got my sisters, my mums, and my dad's. And I can't get my sisters, mums, and dads on Obsidian.
No.
So I'm like, okay, that's a little bit of a restriction. And then if I was to have the 3 different calendars in full calendar, I wouldn't be able to differentiate between the 3. Like on my phone, when I use the Google widget for the month view, I don't want to show my habits because I don't want like clean teeth, drink water like on that calendar. But I still need it.
True.
I still need it somewhere, otherwise I won't do it.
That's another thing I'm kind of playing with, is the idea of using the tasks feature. I don't know whether I will yet. I mean, because I've got something in Obsidian that I quite like. I'm interested to hear from you. Why is it the personal stuff you just separate out of your Obsidian? Because all of the things that you put in there, you could put in Obsidian as recurring tasks. So it would be kind of all in one place, so to speak. What made you decide to move it or just have it in thingy?
A recent thing that's really nice for me is because Morgan's mobile app now has notifications. That's really helpful. So,
That's true.
so it literally, like, as of like 3 seconds ago, just said to me prednisolone, which is my medication for my eye, and Obsidian. You don't get notifications, push notifications. So that's one thing that is more of a recent thing with the mobile app and the widgets. I'm like, oh yeah, I need to take my drugs, so I'll go do that probably after the call. So that's one thing. The other thing is because of the way Morgan works with tasks, I find it easier inside of Morgan to add a task or to move a task around, like drag it around, because it is a calendar. Like if I want it later on in the day, I just click, drag, and then set for this occurrence or all of the occurrences. Whereas in Obsidian, because it's not a calendar, I'd need to use full calendar. And then if it's in an event in a daily note, then it's going to change all of the daily notes, which I don't actually have any daily notes anymore. But it would change all the events in there, which is fine, but you can't do it on a one-off occasion. I'd have to go in and manually change the one-off, which is a bit of an annoyance. And then because it's not a native thing inside of Obsidian, there are bugs. So for example, at the moment, full calendar in the sidebar, if you save it in a workspace and then generate the workspace, at the moment, it's just a bug. It doesn't save the sidebar view of full calendar. It goes back to the embedded view of the full calendar, which is a pain in the bum.
Yeah.
The developer knows about it and they're going to sort it, but that's nothing I have to worry about with Morgan. And something else which you may not know is you can embed a link inside of Morgan, which takes you to Obsidian, takes you to an Obsidian file.
I remember you mentioning that. That's a good point.
So even if I was to use full calendar, I can click open note in Obsidian. It takes me to the note. I can do that in Morgan if I really need to link a note. So if I, for example, I don't anymore, but if I have my content inside of Morgan and I want to go to that file for notes, I can just link the note in Morgan and it will take me straight there. The reason I don't do that anymore is because the file's in Obsidian, and because Obsidian Canvas is so good, I don't need my calendar for it.
Yeah, it's so I can't. Every time I'm in there, I'm just like, oh, I understand exactly what's going on. It's that moment of just like, oh, cool.
I find it like a clarity point. Like, you know, when you're playing a game and you're really in the game, and then you're sitting there thinking, wait, I need to do what achievements, or I need to hit what checkpoint, or what level am I at now, or how much experience do I need?
It's an inventory. It's your inventory and journal. It's your inventory and journal.
Exactly.
In an RPG. You just open it up and you're like, oh yes, that's my inventory, that's what I've got. These are my pieces of content. This is the research that I'm doing right now. Like, okay, cool. These are the things I need to do. Oh yeah, cool. I need to. Yeah, it is like that. It's like a journal and research. Yeah,
it's literally like a step back. Well, hit the pause button. What XP am I on? Okay, I'm on that, right? I'll carry on now. And that's literally what it is. But I push the home button. I'm like, where am I? Oh, that's where I am. Okay, let's go back to where I was.
Yeah, I've started implementing more of the buttons because I'm just like, I like buttons that feel good. I've got some.
Even though you've just said you don't want to click on your calendar, but
yeah, but the calendar I don't want to click on. But when I'm in it, it's the tactile feedback inside of Obsidian that I like. I only ever glance at my calendar. It's only like, okay, what's coming up? Like, what is the day? I don't remember any of these things. Like, it's just to make sure I remember what day it is and what the date is and when things are happening.
I must admit, I'm trying to remember, because I don't think I've used the 2-week view, like, ever actually used it. Like, I know it's there and I know how to use it. I've just never used it. The week view is the same. I don't really go to the week view. The month view I used to go to when I was planning my content in Morgan and in my calendar, but I don't do that anymore because Obsidian's Canvas has done that. So I use Morgan all the time, every day, but just in the day pop-up view. I mean, it's there on my computer right now, and I can see I still need to go through podcasts, Twitter bookmarks. I still need to drink something this morning. Prednisolone, obviously, the notification came up. And then I got to do my emails, then I got lunch, and then got football later. And I got a join call button down the bottom right for the web call I'm on. Like, it just tells me everything, and then, see, it's gone, and then I'm back to my Obsidian, and then you. It's just... Yeah, it's like your Obsidian. Like, I don't need all the other buttons. It's just there.
Yeah, I like my Obsidian is where I'm kind of like in and playing and the tactility of it. Whereas with Morgan, I'm just like, I'm in, I look, okay, cool, I've got this coming up, this coming up, this coming up, this coming up. Right, cool, cool, bye. I'm just in and out and in and out. And I will see what happens. I'm intrigued to, I might try and put some of my recurring tasks into Morgan as a test to see whether how I feel about that with the notifications. Because that is something that I don't get. It's notifications about remembering to do stuff.
I think because Morgan tasks are actually Google events, you essentially get all of the flexibility of all of the recurring possibilities of a typical Google event or calendar event or whatever as a task. You just get a tick box which you can tick and then it disappear off the view. Like that's nice. And I know it's a really small thing and it may sound petty, but I'm a child. It gives you fireworks when you tick a task off. Like, it's so satisfying. Like, yes, I've done that. And when I go through things at like dinner, I'm like tick, 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 and it just disappears. It's so like it's such a small satisfaction. I'm like, yes, I have done stuff today, and you can tick it all off and it's gone. Whereas in Obsidian, I feel because when you tick it off, it's not as obvious it's gone because my dashboard is like everything that's going on. Normally, when I tick something off, it's replaced by something else.
Yes, that is the thing. That is the thing. I found as I had a daily task. I ticked it off and then ended up accidentally ticking it off multiple times because I thought, oh, it's not worked. Because I'm so used Notion. When things didn't actually function the way it should function, sorry. I was so used to that. So I'm like, okay, you're gonna work now. And other programs that aren't Obsidian doing that too, because so many programs do that, whereas Obsidian is so local only, it's just spoiled. We are spoiled.
Yes. I must admit, we're going to take a little bit sideways for a second, talk about Notion. I went into Notion because obviously I was doing the Jeff Sue build, right? For those unfamiliar, I've built Jeff Sue's Notion inside of Obsidian, and I didn't like building it inside of Information because it was built for Notion, and there are so many other ways you could do what he's done inside of Obsidian. I'm like, I don't like this, but this is how he's built it. I don't like this, but this is how he's built it.
I would love to have seen like you taking his like framework, I suppose, and going not like Notion to Obsidian one to one, but like using Obsidian's features. I mean, there was some stuff in there. I was like, oh, that's kind of cool. I don't think you could do that. That's interesting.
Yeah,
With some of the
there are some things in his
stuff.
workflow. I'm like, why? I mean, I took out a fair bit because I didn't need it. Like he has a completed task page. So when he's completed a task, he drags the task to the page. So he keeps them like logged so he doesn't
Oh, you
lose
don't need
them.
that. Yeah.
Like fear of missing out. He doesn't like losing them. But because Obsidian, I put them in daily notes, he's never going to lose them. He just ticks them off and then they're gone. They're done. Which is one thing. The adding new tasks inside of Obsidian, well, inside of Notion, he needed to like add the task either in the database and then attach the project, or he needed to add the task as a task block, but then it wasn't related to anything because it's just a task block, it's blank. So I sort of got rid of that and used a quick add because it's like, hey, it's far easier. And using natural language. So there are a couple of things that I did just go, yeah, Notion just sucks at this. I'm going to do it the Obsidian way. But there were some things in there where I'm like, I'd really like to have this different. Like
What things would that be? I'm quite intrigued.
Well, he's got two views. He's got a task view and a database task view. I would just get rid of the task because he had like the thing to the right that I just put as a card is his this is what I do as my day. So he would take the tasks from the task query and just put it into the card for him organizing. I would just get rid of the card and just use the task queries. And because of the way that he uses his tasks and projects, we didn't really get into much of the projects and tasks because obviously the video was less about that, but I would try and use task queries more inside of the dashboard. So you could quite literally create a week agenda with task queries and say on Monday, on Tuesday, on Wednesday, on Thursday, like as a weekly agenda view.
I really liked how you turned it to a Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. I did not know you could do that. So that's another thing I'm going to be like, oh, that's really cool.
Because then you can literally have a weekly agenda that's dynamic, which he uses the gallery for. But if you've got a card, so say you've got a dashboard file and you've got a card that shows just the Monday heading, and that's got a Monday query, and then you can have metadata for Monday there, if that makes sense.
I could rebuild the thing. So I built something for Francesco a long time ago, which was kind of like a Kanban view of when you move it, the date automatically updates to be the Kanban view was Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, weekend, Friday weekend. And as you moved it across, the formula updated and changed the day, and that it required stupid, annoying things that were stupid and annoying. You had to set the week, you had to do, and I'm just like, actually, we wouldn't have to do any of that in Obsidian because you could just use either templater to be able to show the week that it's on. And then as the day changed, it would change the week. It would change the day itself. It would do so many things built in using the journal. And then you could have that as a, I don't know whether you could you have it as a Kanban?
So you could either have it in the Kanban board or using metadata menu with the gallery cards, you could just add groups. So if you have a Monday group, you can.
That's true. Yeah.
It's on Monday, it's on Tuesday, it's on Wednesday because it's in that group. So you could use that, and you can be very specific with the metadata groups. I went through metadata menu to try and explain all the features, and it's like data view. Like once you've got one field in there, you're like, hey, here's another 10 options, and you go through all of them. It's like, hey, here's another 4 options of each of those, and you're like, Jesus, come on. So I had to just. I mean, I'm at half an hour. It was meant to be the recap for today, but I didn't get it done in time because there was just too many things inside a metadata menu. So
yeah,
it's going out tomorrow, and I've actually left quite a few of the settings because I was like, most people won't use these things, like using JS formulas inside of a field, or using any sort of like JS filters inside of some of the fields that you can use. I've also got rid of using a file or a data view query as a list for a select or a multi-select field. I've left those out as well because I was like, there's too many features that people are just gonna be like, I don't know. I mean, imagine that you have a query, so you're querying certain things that you, I don't know, metadata in files. Say these are all of the people that I work with, and I want to query all of my projects, and the result is going to be all of the people that are on these projects. And you can map that data view query to a select property inside of a class using metadata menu, and it just say, hey, these are the people I'm working with right now, who's working on this, and add person. That's the sort of thing you can do. Yeah. So, and then when you add a new project, you're like, hey, I'm working with John now. The data view query will go, hey, there's a new person, John, in this project. Let's add them to the consultants people list. And then metadata menu updates and goes, hey, there's another option for our select menu. Let's update that.
that's on my list of things to play with. That's really quite powerful.
Yeah. But that's what I mean. Like that's metadata menu. It's so powerful. But when you look at it, you're like, oh my God, I have no idea what's going on. And I want to try and create some vaults using some of these powerful plugins because I think it adds so much flexibility to what you do, but it is creating the thing. Like with Notion, like with August Bradley's setup, there's so many small intricate parts that if you don't fully grasp the relation property, the roll-up property, and all that sort of stuff, you don't really understand how to use the, in his place, workspace, in our case, Vault.
So I think that's the thing, because something that I've been thinking about is doing some Obsidian stuff for my audience, because many of them are struggling with similar things that Obsidian has solved for me. And I'm like, ah, cool. Let me show you this. But at the same time, it's like, are you ready for this? Which for most of my audience is a no. Unless I am sat next to you or over the internet guiding you through step by step what to do, you will just go, oh no, this is too hard. Because
I think that's I mean, we've discussed it before, but I think that's the sort of the pros and cons of using a tool that is so customizable and flexible is you need to know how to use it and what it can do. I know some people, some bigger creators, use tools like Asana and ClickUp, Notion to an extent, sometimes here and there, to manage their businesses and stuff. But ClickUp, Asana, Monday.com, they are boxed, and it's just push this button and this thing works. There are things that can be annoying, but it just works. Just works out of the box, and that's what a lot of bigger companies want. They don't want faffing around. Having said that, though, going back to the calendar, Johnny Harris is looking for essentially an assistant, a virtual assistant, or someone to manage like meetings and stuff. It's a close job because they need to be able to travel to and from. So you've got to be living in the DC area, I think is what it was. But essentially looking for someone to manage their calendar, which sounds odd to me as someone that researches and is like run businesses as a journalist. You would have thought they'd be able to manage their calendar by themselves. And obviously there's more to the job than just managing a calendar. I'm oversimplifying here. But it does make me think, what tools is he using to manage the studio, the video production team, studio, whatever they call them? Because if you're looking for someone to help you manage something, either you're using a tool that doesn't work for you, or you have a system that's running that isn't working for you for whatever reason. Because I think everyone should be able to manage their own time, within reason, of course. So I'm just intrigued to sort of see what tools he's trying to use.
Yeah, that right there is the whole thing of what I do.
Well, yes.
Like, because that's the point. Like, if you don't know, if you're using a tool that doesn't fit you, you can't manage your time. And so few creative style business owners can manage their time because they don't want to think about managing their time, except that's exactly what they need to be doing. Which, if they had the tools to manage their time for them, then they wouldn't have to be thinking about it. But the time investment in figuring out how their time is just too much of an effort. Not even, I don't think it's just an inertia. It's just that feeling of like, I don't even know where to begin. I don't know what direction to go in. I don't know what tool to use. I don't know where I'm. Yeah, there's so many. It's too much that people are just like, well, I'm where I am now. I'm just bad at this, because it's easier to say I'm bad at something and do nothing about it than it is to actually do something about it.
I think a calendar app and a task app are like their go-tos. Not everyone needs like a note-taking app like Obsidian or just a note-taking app in general. Not everyone needs that because you could just take notes in your calendar if it's just a small thing. But having a calendar app and a task app, or a combined tool of sorts, everyone should inside the business creator industry should have something. And I would imagine most people use Google Calendar. And what intrigues me is even MKBHD, so Marcus Brownlee, who is big into tech, like he's the go-to like phone, iPad person really on the internet. He's still used like Asana for his business and TickTick for his task management app until recently. I think recently he moved, I want to say, to Cron. He's been testing out Cron recently, which is great. It works with Notion, of course. But he uses Google Calendar for his events and stuff. And then he moves all of his like work and business calendars onto Google Calendar. And then he moves it, like uses Cron as the interface, and he's trying to use TickTick. I think he moved to Todoist for a little bit, and he's gone backwards and forwards with things, and he's got to work nice on this phone and that phone, and it makes me wonder what tools all the other creators are using, because I would imagine most creators using Google Calendar. Yeah, that's fine, that's cool. But Google Calendar doesn't do tasks very well, which means everyone's going to have a different task app. A lot of them are using Todoist and Google Calendar together, which works, it's fine. But then when I see people's sort of project management stuff, all the creators use Notion. So they've got tasks in Todoist, they've got tasks in Notion, they've got events in Notion, they've got events in Google Calendar, they've got some things in Todoist that are on like a maybe list, and then they've got Notion lists for who knows where on what pages. And I'm like, no wonder you're confused. You're split in 3 places, which is why for me it's just Morgen. And I don't need anything else. And it's just interesting. It'd be interesting to have a a conversation with other creators and how they manage it, like bigger creators. I'm not talking like smaller creators that are in this niche, because we know how the tools work. The point is talking to someone like Francesco, because Francesco's like, hey, I'm using 35 apps to do this. I'm using 73 apps to do that, because they all do a really good job of it. Yes, that was sarcasm. But there are so many different apps out there in this world.
Yeah, it would be
I'm curious
interesting
to
to see
see.
what and this is where I live. I live in that space where
Mm.
business owners don't have these kind of thoughts because they just think they have to use one tool. They believe that this is the only tool that can actually help them be organized because everybody else uses it. And it's just following what everybody else uses because it's easier and less thinking.
I mean, I don't want to be directed at one person. I'm just going to use Thomas Frank as a case study. But Thomas Frank did his creator thing. I can't remember what he called it. Like creator pack, content creator
Yeah.
template,
Notion
basically.
thing, yeah.
Yeah, Notion template thing. And every creator in the world basically was like, oh, Thomas Frank does this. That's amazing. He's got loads of subscribers. It must work. Let's use it. And everyone sort of made their own version of it, which is great. It's fine. And then as time went on, people realized actually it doesn't work for me, or it's too bloated here, or I'm going to get rid of that, or I'm only going to use this bit. But people were still using Notion. They had just adopted Notion and forgotten that other apps exist that can do what they've changed the template to do, potentially better. I'm not talking Obsidian here. I'm talking other apps as well. Even Asana to an extent, like Asana, ClickUp, like they do some things well.
I must admit, the integration between ClickUp and Notion is very interesting. Like
I
you
don't
can now
like it.
link out. You can now. I haven't tried it because I'm just like I don't ever want to look at ClickUp again, but because just too much. But I'm intrigued at why they like the decision to integrate the two.
I think for me, the way I look at those two apps is, and ClickUp is a great app for managing large teams all at once if you understand the tool and if you understand all the buttons and how to use it. If you don't use it. And Notion, I think, is good for a medium-sized team. Again, as long as you understand all the buttons and all the tools and how to use it. I think tools like Asana and Monday.com can be for any team if you have the money and if you don't need the flexibility and if you just need like simple basic stuff. I think I'm trying to think of another tool like Obsidian, Tana, potentially. I can't think of another tool that's flexible that would do all the stuff, because like Obsidian plugin, like Jeff said to me, we were talking on emails, he said to me he didn't realize Obsidian had so many plugins. I was like, yeah. I'm trying to think of another tool that's flexible, like Obsidian, Notion, Tana. It's really any good. Yeah, I wouldn't put Logseek in there because when you actually look at how Logseek manages tasks, it doesn't have as much status flexibility as Obsidian now with the statuses of tasks. It also it's more codey than Obsidian, like way more codey than Obsidian. So that's going to put off a lot of people anyway. It's not as aesthetically pleasing because that's not what they've gone for. They've gone for programmers. They've gone for functionality, which is understandable. The whiteboard, from my experience, is not as good as the canvas. Yes, there's more features in the Logseek whiteboard, but the canvas, well, I say more features. More features in some elements. I think that's because of the way Logseek works on the block basis rather than the...
Yeah.
I wouldn't even say Obsidian's a file basis because it still works with blocks, but yeah. But Obsidian gives you all of the flexibility and customization, but you need someone that knows what they're doing with it. And this is why I'm intrigued to see where, like, what the creators are using. Because in my head, most of them use Notion. I've got some database formatted in some way saying, do this thing, do that thing, do this thing, do that thing. And I'm going to guess most of them are not using the person property the way the person property is intended, because most people just dump the person property in there and then just look at it in the database. They don't actually filter by person in a personalized dashboard, which is kind of what the point, like what it's for.
That's why it's so good. Yeah.
Yeah. They maybe do, but even if they do, you can replicate that in Obsidian very easily because it's just a name. You just filter by name, which is what the database property is. So the way I've been like looking at Sarah Dietschy's Notion recently, Ali's old Notion, because Ali's going between apps, and you saw his tweet testing out Monday. Who knows where he's going to end up? And I know Thomas uses Notion, but he's what I would call a Notion nerd. Like he knows Notion, so it works for him. Those that don't know Notion, is it easy to onboard? It's like Obsidian, not really.
Yeah.
So I'm like,
I think Notion is like the gateway. It's the gateway drug into actually customizing the way that you work. It's like you start there because this is what happened with me. I think it's also you were the same. Of like you started in Notion, you saw what was possible, you learned what you liked, you learned what you hated, and then you're like, right, well, I want these things. This is what I need. This is actually what I need. So I'm going to go and Obsidian allows me to do that. Tasks are easier in Obsidian. I hate for me, it was the effort to just put a bloody task in that caught me. Like inside of Notion, it's just like the effort required to add a task. And even if you don't have any of the plugins inside of Obsidian, it is still incredibly simple to add a task.
You don't even need the task plugin because you can search for tasks inside the default search.
Yeah.
You can look for the done, not done, etc. What do you reckon Mr. Beast and his various teams uses?
Asana.
Is that what you think? Or is that what you know?
My brain says I know, but I don't remember how. So we'll just say Asana. I think it's something like Asana.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking, because I can't imagine many of the people that he's hired to be organizational, technical people, because most of them are creators. They're video creators, they're researchers, they're set builders, they're lighting people. Yeah. I can't imagine many
Beast.
of them. I mean, he's probably got like, I know he's got people that organizes his time because he has a lot of stuff going on, obviously. Oh, but it'd be interesting to see like what tools they use and how they manage their time, because there is so much going on. I mean, they've got like 7 channels going on. Obviously, they're individual teams. So are the teams separate? Yes. But are they separate in their organization of time? And how does that happen? That would be a conversation I'd be really interested to have. Maybe I would put that on my agenda. I'm going to add that to my task list.
That is really cool. Can I be a part of that one? I'd love to have fun with that too. I'd be like, oh, so how do you do this? And how do you do that? And how do you do this? And how do you do that? And tell me more.
Well, yeah,
that'd be really cool.
He is a big team. So how does he manage all of his time? How does he divvy up where he's got to be, what set he's got to be on? Obviously, I know he's got his video planning sessions and ideas and stuff, but does he have a session every day? Does he have certain times of sessions? Because I know.
Does he just store it in his head? Because that.
No. Because I've listened to podcasts where they have massive lists and they've got like thousands of thumbnails all stored somewhere. They've got like loads of ideas. They've got loads of storage, and he doesn't manage the storage. I know he doesn't manage it. There are people specific in like the cameras, in the lighting, in the sets, in all of the areas, in the files and stuff. So it's like everyone organizes their own stuff. But I would imagine all in their own ways. But there's got to be some overarching calendar for his time,
or structure or something that helps. Yeah,
for his time. Yeah, because like he's got to go, right, I'm going to look at the Beast Philanthropy channel today. I'm going to have a look at this and just have like a day for that channel. Or is it like I'm going to spend 2 hours here doing the Spanish translation? Or do you just leave them to it? Like, where's the check-in points? What does his calendar look like? Does his calendar, is it just like fully booked out with meetings, or is it really empty because everyone else does everything? And then what's he using? Is he using just a Google Calendar to map stuff out? Probably, because he's pretty simple. He's not I don't want to say he's not a complicated person, but he just wants to get stuff done. He's not interested in the minutiae a lot of the time. Yeah, I really don't know. I can't imagine Mr. Beast using something like Morgen.
No.
He'll probably go to MKBHD and ask him about calendar apps and tools and tech. I can see that being a thing, because I know they've spoken before about technology. They did an interview about it, because Mr. Beast was saying, or Jimmy, he was saying that he doesn't watch content like his content. He doesn't watch extravagant types of content.
Yeah, he
And
watches
challenging
like
stuff. He watches educational content, like
yeah.
Wendover, Kyrgyzstan, Veritasium. He watches the sorts of channels that us nerdy people watches. So I wouldn't be surprised if he used like the same sort of tools as Marcus, like TickTick and things for tasks and Google Calendar for his events, but I really don't know. That'd be a really interesting conversation someone needs to have with him. But I can't imagine it being a very high up on his priority list.
The cool thing is that if let's say for argument's sake it doesn't work, like Jimmy's system isn't working for him, but he keeps dropping stuff and missing stuff, which is freaking likely. But if it is, imagine what would be possible with something that is built for him, like an actually matching his brain, matching his team's brain, matching everyone's.
Thinking about it, he's probably had a developer just build his own app.
Probably.
It's like, can you just build me an app that works for me?
Yeah, that's probably what he's done. Like completely
it's
customized.
Like, I want that button pink. I want that button blue. Yeah, because he could probably pay someone to do it.
Fascinating. Yeah, that would just make sense, wouldn't it? Why would you use an off-the-shelf tool when you can hire a developer to do it for you?
So I will pay you $100,000 for you to build me an app that helps me manage my business. I mean, you'd still need a team to manage it because apps are hard to build, but yeah. Interesting conversation, like interesting direction, because I don't know. Obviously, I'm from a creator world, which is why that's where my head is at. But even in the business world, I would imagine most people just using the default apps of like Google and Outlook.
No, the business world is a mess. Like people are a mess. I've worked with some big people in the past, or know people who have worked with big people in the past, and the back end is always an absolute state. And it is not good, and it is really poor.
I know there was so I spoke with someone locally that worked as they were the head of the tech company, or the tech part of the company, which is a local bank in the UK. It's like one of the big three banks. And they were talking, I told you the story before, but they were using Notion on the back end for all of the tech stuff. And people were making their own task databases. And they were adding tasks in all the different task databases. And there were tasks added as just pages. And yeah, it just became a mess. And he said that Notion became more of a maintenance job than a getting stuff done job. So they were trying to figure stuff out. It was working for the people that knew Notion, but for the people that didn't know Notion, stuff was getting lost and missed and forgotten because there were just too many people managing or trying to manage the system.
If you're a bigger company, you need a dedicated Notion human, someone whose only purpose is to use Notion and keep the Notion system sorted. And it needs to be someone who doesn't work for the company doing any other job.
Yeah, because it can be a job to manage systems. And I mean,
I remember
that's what Johnny
seeing
Harris
a
is
tweet.
hiring. So
I remember seeing a tweet, which I cannot remember who it was, so apologies. How they had just finished God of War Ragnarok, and there was an Asana or a Jira person, like someone was actually labeled as a Jira person or an Asana person. And I'm like, yes, that's what we need. I think it was Marie's partner, Ben. Yeah. I think it was him.
Yeah, I can see Ben tweeting something like that.
Yeah.
Sorry, Ben, if you're listening. You've just been categorized.
Don't categorize people.
Yes. I think with the amount of information, the amount of stuff that business owners and people need to manage and do, I think having someone specializing in the tech that you're working with is going to become a job that people need even more, especially when AI gets involved.
Especially now with AI coming in. It's really interesting to see the space. I have a couple of things that I'm doing now with specifically ChatGPT, but I mean it expands to the AI thing anyway because it's the same language basically, just slightly customized, but it's basically the same language. And it's interesting seeing people try to use it. And as I've now moved into this space, somewhat reluctantly, only because I actually love the darn stuff. It's fun. I'm not interested in becoming a I don't really care about following the trends anymore. I was like, no, this is really cool. People need to think about this because actually it's a way of, for me, in my audience, and here comes the face, it's removing that executive dysfunction. It's not removing, you can't remove it. It's reducing executive dysfunction. You're doing so well. You're doing so well. You're doing really well. You're doing really well. Well done. Well done. It is.
For those listening, I just took my headphones off for a minute.
Yeah, because he was screaming inside. But it helps. Now, I just call it inertia because that's what it is for me. That is the best description I can find for why I struggle to get started and why I struggle to finish tasks. It's inertia. That is what it is to me. It's not executive dysfunction because that's a weird phrase with so many connotations that I don't like. So for me, I refer to it as inertia because it feels like inertia. I know what I want to do.
It is.
It is inertia, and so that is what it is. And what I find really valuable for me, and this is just me, ChatGPT is really good at helping me overcome inertia. Like not doing it for me, but helping me on the steps to do it myself. Because it's something that I can use to just skip that very, very beginning. That very, 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 because that's the bit that catches me. Once I'm in. Getting out of it, that's where my partner comes in. She's like, come on.
You need to eat.
Yeah, that's where my body comes in and tells me to stop. Whether I recognize what my body does is another matter, but whatever. And phones.
Morgen notification. Yeah. Morgen notification.
Yeah, I like that. That might be a thing I have to implement because I'm going to start forgetting, especially as I've been diving into more researchy stuff to do with.
Since Morgan added the notifications on my phone, I've actually been downstairs for dinner in time.
That's incredible. I might
normally my parents have to shout upstairs, and because I got my headphones on to drown out all of the sound, I can never hear them. So my sister like smacks on my door. I'm like, what the? Oh, wait, what's the time? Oh, it's dinner time. I'm going to go downstairs now. But with Morgan notifications, I actually know. Oh, it's dinner in 15 minutes. Okay.
Yeah. So and that for me is where ChatGPT is. Everyone's talking about producing content, and I'm like, no one can produce content the way I do. Not at all. No one can create the emails that I create. That's one of the things that I keep getting complimented on. Like my emails that I create are really good because they're me, and it's hard. There are ways because I've managed to do it of hacking a prompt to almost get close, but I don't see. There's not enough for me. The amount of effort that it requires to edit the post or the content afterwards is just too much. It's like, well, I might as well, if I'm going to be doing all of this, I might as well write it myself. Thank you very much. But getting into the top layers of research, and I'm starting to figure out how to refine my research into actually giving more than just the very surface oversimplified level of information, which I'm really enjoying. I actually created an Instagram and a Facebook post about that. Of like, here is how you do it. This is what you put in your prompt so you do not get oversimplification. And it's involving using jargon. And then you ask it to explain the jargon, and then you ask it more questions. And then you actually dive into research and you actually get some tasty stuff that you can actually bloody well use, and then go away and research and then do more and then do more. Anyway.
I have a question for you.
Yes.
And this is not related to apps and technology at all. This is research focused. What in your head, in your mind, when someone says, I've researched something, what does that mean?
What does that mean? It depends on who you're talking to. And if we go with
I'll lay out some scenarios. You have we'll put a creator because they're most of the people that are sharing stuff, whether that's over YouTube or Twitter or Twitch or whatever. The creator says, I have researched this and found, I've researched X and found Y. In that context,
Google.
okay, that's what I thought.
Yeah.
Right? And that is most people's assumption when people say research, because I was watching a Wired interview with Malcolm Gladwell from 3 years ago, and he was asked this question on there, and he said, which I completely agree with, most people think research is doing a Google search, but it's not. That's just searching for stuff. And then the next layer is people saying, oh, well, I've done multiple Google searches with tabs. No, that's still Google searching. You've just got a little bit more breadth in your search.
What I think is quite interesting with this is that my hope is that ChatGPT will inspire people. And what I want ChatGPT to be used for is to go beyond the Google search.
That's
because it already can do that, and it is not hard to do. It is really easy. It's one single prompt. You put in a text expander, expand that text, you are done. You get not a massive depth, but you get deeper. And as long as you ensure that you don't do not lie, do not make stuff up, be very aware of its limitations, there is a lot you can gain from just ChatGPT, and then you can pull that information out, put it somewhere like in Obsidian, and then you can research more, and you have directions to go in. That has always been the problem for me, and why I've struggled, because limited time, limited energy, limited capacity to do things. Like, that has always been my struggle point, is like, actually, which one? I've got 25 million different things that I want to go into. Where do I even start? What is and a a search gets me nowhere. But a research gives me an opportunity to just kind of dip my toe in, and then when I know I want to do it, I will go elicit, Research Rabbit. I've played with Research Rabbit has updated so much since I last used it.
Yeah, I haven't used that in a while.
Yeah, I popped in there. I was like, oh, hello, there's a lot of things in here that I did not know existed. And it allowed me to use AI. And all of the stuff that I'm using, AI, it is all AI operated. And that, I think, is the cool stuff.
And Dovos, I don't know how you pronounce the username. They've commented on YouTube a few times, and I speak with them in the Discord. They did something, and I was like, oh, that's cool. And I'm curious to see if you've done it. Have you put a ChatGPT window in your Obsidian? Because obviously you can embed it in Canvas, or you could use OpenShare or any of the plugins to just put it in the sidebar.
No.
Because then you can open up your Obsidian, and if you've got internet connection, you have a direct window already with ChatGPT. And when I read that, I was like, that's cool. I bet John's done that. And by the look of your face, you haven't done that.
I have to do
so you don't need a browser. You could just be in your Obsidian, right sidebar, open up ChatGPT. Okay, let's have this conversation. What's going on? Oh, okay. And then your notes are on the main screen because you're in Obsidian.
What's going to happen next?
When I read that, I was like, John's certainly done that. And I reckon that workflow maybe, I mean, it's not Notion AI in Obsidian, because Obsidian AI, we've already got plugins that do stuff. I'm not that interested because I don't think the AI stuff's useful.
The Obsidian AI. I'm sorry. I cannot believe I'm about to say this, and I feel dirty saying it. Notion AI is better.
I think it's because Notion's actually tried to implement AI into its app as a core feature. Like, the team have worked on it, whereas Obsidian, it's just community plugins, which
that's true. And that's true. I think the Notion alpha of Notion is incredible. Like, if I want to edit my content, and ChatGPT is down, I will put it in Notion AI.
It's so busy.
What?
ChatGPT, like, half the time I go on there, it's like, sorry, capacity is full.
You've got to be logged. If you're logged in, you're more likely to get it. I'm just absolutely ticked off that I can't buy it yet because I'm in the UK. I can't buy it. I just want to give them. I will give you money. Let me pay $20 a month to be able to get access all the time. I will happily pay that. I've already got something that I'm actually paying $20 a month for now, which is barely
Jasper?
AI.
Oh,
No, I hate. I understand it's the content thing. I'm not interested in using AI to write my content.
right, yeah.
I want it to give me ideas. I want it
I
to
think I
help.
think AI as a spell checker and grammar checker is quite nice, and like a summary of things. I think that's
Yeah,
a nice
summarizing is
way.
pretty good. I use it to summarize my blog posts and articles and stuff like that. That's nice because I'm rubbish at those. I also use it as inspiration for starting and ending a post. Starting for a summary and then ending for a conclusion. That is often a little bit meh, but I do use it for that.
Have you tried asking ChatGPT to summarize something with a reference in it?
No.
Because it'd be interesting to see if it keeps the reference in the same place or if it moves the reference or removes the reference.
I mean, I would tell it not to see. That's the thing because I'm I know that it does stupid, annoying shit like that.
Yeah,
I would tell
but
it not
that's the
to.
sort of thing that I would want to do, because what I'm thinking in my head, right? I know we're still recording and it's still a podcast, but I'm just going to speak out loud anyway because hey, it's a podcast and most people that don't care would have gone anyway. So the stuff that I'm thinking of doing for what was the Danny Hatcher channel, which so context, I moved the main channel Danny Hatcher to the second focus channel of Danny Talks Tech, and then changed my second channel to a Danny Hatcher channel. I've now reverted back mainly because the content that I would make as video essays requires editing, and editing is boring. I'd much rather spend another 50 hours
Use
researching
AI.
stuff. No. And what I'm thinking in my head is, can I create an article in Obsidian? I can export it using Pandoc anyway. But if I can do a summary check and a grammar check inside of Obsidian using the ChatGPT AI in the sidebar, it means I don't need to use Word for spell checking or Grammarly checking. And if I don't need to use Word for any of that, it means I can literally write everything in Obsidian. Because Word doesn't have an AI checker, you'd have to take it out of Word to put it into AI. And if you can do that in the Obsidian step, instead of exporting something that's potentially got errors in and then doing the whole check thing.
Something I'm playing with. So I launched my first. I'm creating almost like a virtual subscription box around prompts and Chat GPT. So I launched that. First one went out yesterday, and I was.
Oh, was that the email? I got an email from you either yesterday or the day before.
Day before that was a normal email that was talking about inertia and
Yeah, I
this.
ignore those ones.
Yeah, cheers. I have a
I
product
speak
that I've
Czech.
launched, which I haven't actually sent out a normal email for because I just couldn't be asked and I wanted to get this done. And one of the things I was really struggling with is where to put. What I wanted it to be is incredibly simple, incredibly like easy to use, and is a document, not loads of videos, not loads of things. And I jumped between Canva Docs, which is pretty nice and it makes it look pretty, and Google Docs, which is functional. And I hate both.
I love that. Functional.
Yeah, I don't like either because I can't use one in Google Docs. I can't use any Markdown, which is infuriating. And I want to
Only
just put
once
a
you've
bloody
used
header and I got
Markdown. Once you've been in the Markdown world and you go outside of it, you're like, why can't this?
Yeah, so it's very annoying. But what you were talking about there, I was like, oh, wait a minute. What if I wrote it in Obsidian and exported it as a PDF? Because I'm sure there is a PDF export on Obsidian Notes.
Yeah, there's the default export that just takes the file. I mean, if there's nothing in the Markdown file that needs sort of processing in any way, like my references, then the default export works perfectly fine. You just say export to PDF and it will export the Markdown to PDF, which is really nice, really easy. For me, I need to use Pandoc because I have reference information in there for citations and bibliographies and stuff, which requires a bit more technical stuff. But yeah, you could just export it as a PDF.
Cool.
And then those that use Zotero can take it as a PDF, put it in the Zotero, and then highlight it, and then export the highlights into Zotero, into Obsidian, like big old circle.
Because that's something I've been just and just popping into my head as I've been thinking is actually turning ChatGPT Playground into an Obsidian vault. It's incredibly niche, and very few people will probably use it. But it could, I could
So
take
what's in it?
So the idea is that it will have like the actual content itself. So that would be the prompt of the month, like the prompt that I'm doing. It would have an explanation of the prompt and then a breakdown of the prompt. But there are pieces of a prompt that I'm always kind of using. So it's the do not make stuff up, do not do the, and it's like having it as almost like a build your own prompt. So it's like you can take this
prompt creation.
Yeah, like prompt creation. So you can craft your own prompt. So my idea could be when at the moment it's a fill in the blank. So people have to fill in the blanks. But if they get a vault and all they have to do on the homepage is just
you're going to give me access, yeah?
Yeah, of course. Yeah, of course I fucking am. Duh. And if I was to oh my god, it'd be as simple as quick add for crying out loud.
Yeah.
Like I would use quick add, they press the button and it'd be like, okay, so what's your niche? It's this. What type of content are you? Because the first one is about taking a transcript.
That's what I was thinking in my head. I was like, if you've just got a script, just add a quick add, because then you can type the text, say value, and then name the value, and then
and then it's literally there, and they've got it there, and it's ready for them. And I'm just like, oh, that's really cool. And then it slots pieces into place, and then because can you do you can do select options? Yes, you can. Oh, lovely. In quick add. My brain was just like, oh, yes, I have that functionality.
Yeah, M value.
So you can have it, like, make sure it doesn't lie. It could be even just be a tick box or whatever it might be, or make sure you don't over summarize. There's so many things.
I see a video incoming.
What, for you?
Yeah, I see an incoming video about AI prompts, and then I can just say, hey, John's got the vault.
Because that'd be really cool. And it would be really easy as well to create. And I'm not too sure whether it would actually be very hard for new Obsidian users to use.
Well, if you've set the vault up, all they've got to do is push a button. Because it's just a file.
Because it does install all the plugins and all my shortcuts. It gives all of that, doesn't it? That's the question I had for you.
Well, yeah, the vault download, because it's just a folder.
Yeah.
It's just a folder with files. Like that, you don't have to do anything apart from download it and then open it. Obviously, you need Obsidian on the device you're using, but once you've got Obsidian on the device, the vault is just the vault of files and settings. And then because it's all local, it's the same as. So this is something that's interesting. I was speaking with someone the other day, and they were saying, well, how does Obsidian work on other devices? And I was like, it's literally the same thing. Literally exactly the same thing. The only difference is it's a different device. So if I'm on my PC or a computer or my phone or whatever, could you use it as a watch? Could you use it on a smartwatch? I don't think so.
I now really want to.
I have no idea if that'd be possible. I doubt it because of the storage, but I don't know. Anyway, depending on the device you've got, I
really just want to right now. I'm just like, let's create a watch app.
Yeah, yeah. But yeah, so it's the same on every device. So you can download a vault on any device, have it multiple times. I mean, I've got multiple vaults because I build stuff. So I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 in my Vault Quick Switcher. In my Vault Switcher that are open, that I don't actively go to them all. I mean, I've got wrong shortcut. I've got 4, 3 that I go to regularly. The test one for the recap, my actual vault, and then 2 other project vaults where I'm working with other people, and then some other vaults that I build with. But the vault is just a folder. It's literally just navigating a folder.
Yeah.
So yeah, and I would probably use your AI vault. Would I use it as a separate vault? I'm not sure. I might just have it as a file, actually. Thinking about the length of it, it would probably just be a file, and then the quick add would have all the sort of like technical information in.
Yeah.
Because something that I do now, because I have so many quick adds, Commander, I had like a button for new video, new essay, new script, new this, new this. I was like, you know what? I'm running out of spaces. I'm running out of colors to change icons. So I've added the quick add menu as a commander instead. So I now basically just have the checkbox list item, like red item. Actually, I can share my screen, can't I? So I'm just going to get rid of all of these notifications that need to be hidden. And I'm going to share my screen so people can see what I'm talking about if they're on YouTube.
So I see it already. That's really nice. Yes.
So yeah, so I click on that and it says note, essay, video source, title idea, and sign for sign language. So I can then click on there and then it takes me to that pop-up window. And you could have something like this and the AI prompts being here because it's a quick add. So quick add prompt for this or this or this. And then when you click on it, it takes you through the process of adding in what do you want to research, what's your question, blah, blah, blah. Do I want to add this prompt or that prompt, etc., and go through it. Which I think would be really nice because, I mean, I've still got the new note there. So the one at the top here, new note, is this one. And this one, new idea, is this one. But I use those two more than the others because that one goes, the note goes to the brain.
Is that just switched?
What?
1, 2, 3. Fourth one along.
This one?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's the toggle metadata switch.
Why did I not think of using a switch? Duh. Yeah, sorry, Cam.
Yeah, so I got the new note goes to
Does that change? Sorry, and does that actually change, or is that just does it stay on the left-hand side? Does it actually switch?
Oh no, it stays on the left.
That's what I thought.
You can make it stay on the right if you want. And then the idea one goes to this one. These are just random ideas that I've come up with, and then obviously that's my canvas because I have a really like busy, small, not life. Anyway, we're not doing an Obsidian share, but that's what I had in mind.
Yeah,
using
that's cool.
Using the
yeah, because I think that would be a really nice, easy vault. Because you got Notion templates, and I could have made it a Notion template, but like the barrier to entry of Notion is if it's offline, it's not very good. I'm just like, I could.
So, question now. Are you going to sell it on Gumroad?
No. Why would I sell it on Gumroad when I have Thrivecart? Just like, no. Why? like, why would I do that to myself?
I think the only, so obviously me having moved to Thrivecart, the only thing with Obsidian is you need somewhere to actually download the vault. It's not a URL link you can just direct someone to.
Yes. Yeah.
I have a password protected page on my website, which I direct people to, and that then has the downloads. So that's what I do, but obviously pick your poison.
Yeah, I could just do it as a website page. It's not a problem. I think that'd be really nice. It's a nice, yeah, I might go do that.
Because then you can just add prompts to it because essentially what I use publish because it makes life easier, but obviously your vault, you wouldn't be able to use publish because then you can't use the plugins, so blah, blah, blah. But with you, once you've made the vault, it's just a case of re-uploading the new vault. All the links, all the payment, everything else is exactly the same. You just re-upload the vault the same as you would just change the Notion template. And in
fact, with Thrivecart, you can do a redirect to a link. So I could give them the download folder immediately. Because currently it's a Google folder I give them.
Oh, right, okay.
Did you know you could do that?
Yeah, I knew you could do that. I don't know, just didn't acknowledge that I would want to do that, if that makes sense. But then I've got multiple vaults, so people would want to pick between. So I think I've got like 9 in a template pack now.
Yeah, you do.
Quite a few vaults in now. And I haven't changed the price. So from a business owner, people are like, you should be increasing the price. But nah.
If you don't want to, you don't want to.
Yeah.
Don't need to.
I can say this now. Someone reached out to me yesterday. They did a Google search for my templates. And for whatever reason, the password wasn't working. And I went into the back end of WordPress to have a look. And the password was just empty. So obviously I'd put the password in and didn't push save at some point. So there was no password on the templates. So people could have just done a Google search for it and be like, oops. Oops the daisies. But I've added the password now, and now it's all hidden like it should be. But yeah, insider information in the creator world. People make mistakes. Anyway, right. You're going to give me that AI script prompting thing now, and I'm going to put ChatGPT inside of my Obsidian.
Oh, ChatGPT's going inside my fucking Obsidian too. That's happening.
I'm surprised you didn't do it whilst we were talking about it.
I was going to behave myself.
Right, yeah. Back to Morgen. Morgen is great. Love the upgraded plan. Love the app. But
yeah, the upgraded plan. They've because I know I I had a suspicion that they were fighting against like Fantastical, because that's the one that I can see being the there is enough similarities for there to be comparisons.
I think they're also technically like being, not technically, they are being compared against Cron. And because Cron merged with Notion, I want Morgen to merge with Obsidian. I just want it to happen.
It won't, but that would be cool.
I've spoken with the developers and they want it to happen. They just don't have the bandwidth right now.
Yeah.
So what I kind of want to do is be like, hey, Obsidian developers, I know you love your plugins, so fancy making one that integrates Morgen with Obsidian, and Morgen may be able to pay you because Morgen are looking for a developer to do it. So you may actually get money for it as well, like from a developer point of view. But yeah, so the cron uses a command palette, right? And Morgen doesn't have one at the moment. I'm just double checking inside. Yes, it's planned. So they have planned the command palette for Morgen, which is like adding an event through a command palette like you would in Obsidian. And you can see where I'm going here. Combine command palette in Morgen into Obsidian, because if you have an integration with Morgen and Obsidian, the command inside of Morgen, i.e. hotkey command, would be a command inside of Obsidian. So I could
would mean you could use Commander and Quick Add and oh yes please now.
Exactly. So I could add things to my Morgen through Obsidian.
That's really cool.
I know, and I'm like, developers, please
do this now.
I might do like a dedicated video on like Morgen and Obsidian.
You should.
Like, this is a request to any developer, ideally one that understands Obsidian plugins. Please make one for Morgen, and Morgen may pay you for it.
Maybe check with Morgen that they would pay you for it.
No, but even if they don't, it still helps the Morgen users. And I know there are a lot of Morgen users that use Obsidian, because I'm in the Discord of Morgen, and they're like, oh yeah, the command palette like Obsidian. I'm like, oh, okay.
Yeah, that's cool.
So
I'm enjoying Morgen. There we go.
Yes.
So much so I just immediately paid them. I was like, yes, thank you.
I was expecting to have like a conversation about it, but you were just like, nope, we're doing this now. So
I had already been kind of playing with it, and the difference in price and the fact that I got Zoom integration on the middle plan, which
you get everything, like all the web integrations now. So
like all of the integrations are now on that plan. Give me webhooks, please. Give me webhooks.
Do you get webhooks on the Pro plan, on the Plus plan?
I have no idea. I don't know. I know they integrate with Zapier, but Zapier sucks. Give me something else. Give me.
I, having spoken to Marco, I think it integrates with other things as well, but it's like extremely like developer integration sort of thing. Like you actually have to code the integration sort of stuff, not an interface like GUI, but
if they've got webhooks that I can play. I know enough about webhooks to be dangerous.
Yeah, I know they're considering it. It's on the roadmap consideration. So you could give it an upvote inside of Discord. Well, as soon as you upvote and comment on something, it goes straight to the top of the list. So because obviously recent activity. So
that's a very good idea. Let me go do that.
I think webhooks is in the roadmap. If it's not, then you can add it, of course.
Because that would be really cool.
Oh no, Morgen web app. Have a play. Anyway, right, I'm going to stop the recording. Have a good week, everyone. Bye.
Bye.